Everybody, I'm Leigh-Ann, the founder of the Orange Ribbon Club, aka TORC. We are in week 4 of our TORC case study, and today I want to talk to you guys about something that hits close to home, and that is ODD. What is ODD? Most of you guys know this already, but it's the oppositional defiant disorder. And today I want to talk to you guys about how we can learn some tips and tricks to help deter some of those negative behaviors and what it may look like for you at home or at school for your child, and some ways to work through those behaviors. So stick around to the end. I'm going to give you my very best tips today, and make sure that if you want to get more tips like this, you like, subscribe, and follow. We're trying to get to 1,000 followers, so make sure that you get in on that contest. I do have it listed in one of my other videos, so I'll make sure that you follow that link below, and make sure that you join for that. Let's jump right in. What does ODD look like? It can look like aggression in a child. It can look like defiance. It can look like anxiety or anger or self-harm or harming others. It can look like a lot of things, and you can notice it in children that are even younger than 8. Now, before we get started, I do want to make sure that I let you guys know I am not in any way licensed to give you guys this information. I'm going solely based off of what I know as a person from my experience and what I've experienced with some of our children who we work with. So, with that being said, we'll jump right into the tips. Number 1 tip is to avoid standoffs. Now, this may be hard, and it may be very tricky, because when you have a child who has ODD, your child is different from other children, and not because they have a disorder. So I don't want you to think like that. And it's our goal here at TORC to change the stigma for children living with a mental disorder or a mental diagnosis. So it may seem kind of rough when you look at your child and notice that they're behaving differently than other children. But children all behave differently. So don't set yourself up for failure by assuming that you're a bad parent or that your child is a bad child simply because they're acting differently than the status quo. So I want you to avoid standoffs. And that may seem really, really difficult for those of you who actually have a child who has ODD, because you can realize that anything can set them off. But that goes into my number 2. So number 2 and number 1 are kind of intertwined, is recognize the triggers. You can avoid a standoff by realizing that you might set your child off with your tone of voice, how you approach your child. Let's say, for example, that you're trying to get your child ready in the mornings. And we have a video about this in TORC week 1, but this is specifically for ODD. So let's talk about this one, and this one, we won't go into that one. With ODD, let's say you're trying to get your child ready in the morning and you're having a complete meltdown. It is very hard to avoid a standoff there, but how you speak to your child may be a trigger for them. It may be you saying, okay, time to go, and you're rushing them. Little things like those might be triggers that you haven't noticed before. And if you're having trouble with early morning routines, make sure that you do check out that video, because that also helps with children with ODD. It will change your morning routine, I promise you. But just recognize those triggers so that you can avoid a standoff, because when you get to a standoff, it becomes essentially a power struggle, because then you need to get your child to behave, and they're not listening, and you have to leave, and it becomes so much harder. But if you avoid the standoff to start with by recognizing the triggers, then it won't be as hard, because trust me, if you take the time to do that, you're not going to have that meltdown either in the same way or to the same extent. So make sure that you're recognizing those triggers and avoiding standoffs. It can be really tough, I know. If you are in a standoff, make sure that you're offering choices. And we talk about that in the week 1 and in some of the other videos, so make sure that you catch up with those as well. Sorry, I was gonna say avoid standoffs again, that's not it. Give limited choices. You can do this for free because I'm asking you to, or for a fee. Now, with that being said, with the fee, they might lose their tablet, or they might lose their phone, or they might lose quiet time with you during the day, or whatever it may be, for free or for a fee. Now that could be one of your ways to show consequences, but also it could be something like, okay, listen, Johnny, it's time to get ready for school, and I notice that you're getting upset. So before we get there, let's oh yeah, I guess it could be before we get there. Before we get to that point, let's decide what we want to do. We want to make a good choice, or do we want to make a bad choice here? And then if it goes into the temper tantrum, you can say, hey, I know you're upset. I know you're having a moment. We can get ourselves together now and move forward, or we can miss out on all the fun that we're going to have at school today. So, and that's going to differ for every kid, every adult. It's going to differ what your consequence is going to be, but just make sure that you set consequences that you're okay with, meaning you're okay if he doesn't go to school, or you're okay if he doesn't, or you're okay if he does get in the car. You have to be okay with those decisions, or else it's going to cause a power struggle. And I hope I explained that correctly, because I know I kind of stuttered there for a minute, but you want to make sure that you're okay with those two choices, whatever those two choices are. You're okay if he loses his tablet, and you're okay if he doesn't get to go to basketball tryouts after school. Whatever those two consequences are, make sure that you are okay with those two choices. That way you avoid a power struggle. I want to add on to that and say only give two choices. Do not overwhelm their little brains with more than two choices. That's why I simply say for a fee, or for free, or for a fee, because that only gives two choices, and we want to make sure we do not overwhelm and overstimulate them, because that's just going to make the situation a lot worse. Next tip is to consider their point of view. As a child, your mother's rushing you, you're trying to get your shoe untied and it won't come untied, and you're getting in trouble when you're really trying to say, hey, I need your help. So take a step back for a moment. And I know as a parent, sometimes it can be challenging, especially if you have more than one child, to devote enough time to just completely focus on what that child is doing. It does take away from some of the other children, but you'd rather do that for just a few moments than have to go through a whole entire breakdown of fighting, screaming, yelling, and it's just becoming so much more, because you're going to get upset. Now, we do talk about ways to manage your anger, and I believe that's week 3, or maybe it's week 2. Either way, I'll link all of them below so that you guys can join that playlist. And make sure that you like, subscribe, and follow on those as well. It really helps us out here to help other children, other families like you. But consider their point of view. Mom's screaming at me. I'm trying my best here, and I don't know how to ask for help. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe you can take a step back and say, hey, Johnny, I'm going to help you. Do you need help untying your shoe? And then ask permission. Is it okay if I help you? Because sometimes you have to remember that those are their children are little people too. They're just little us's. So just remember that they're little people too. And this is going to take a lot of time and a lot of practice. Trust me, I have 7 kids. I am no expert. I promise you, my kids still have meltdowns, but my kids that have ODD do not have meltdowns with me. And this is because I follow these steps. And I also want to point out that our, let me reach back here, our book, ADHD, The Help We So Desperately Needed, can actually be used in more than just ADHD. This can also be used with ODD as well. If you guys remember, you guys have been here for a while, you've seen this stop sign before, this, I don't know if you can see it on the screen, this stop, think, and decide poster. This really helps children out, no matter what the diagnosis or what stage they're in, to have them stop what they're doing, to then think about it. That think is a redirection and a breathing stage, so that they can get themselves back under control. You have time to get yourself under control, and then they can move forward to this decide. And this decision is, if you'll notice, 2 choices. I don't know if you can see this or not, but it is 2 choices. It's good or bad. Are we going to move forward and have a good rest of our day or good rest of our morning? Whatever you can, whatever is within control. Are you gonna have a good time, a good day, or are we gonna move to the other side and not have a good day? Because over here it's not so much fun. We don't get rewards and things like that. We only get positive consequences. So it's not as fun as being over here, because over here you might get to have candy or go to the store with mom or whatever else, but over here you don't get to have that. Over here it's more like we're gonna be writing sentences or looking at a wall or whatever, whatever you need to make that consequence be. And if you need help deciding some consequences or some positive ways to, I got distracted because of my watch, some positive ways to give immediate consequences, make sure you check out our website, barberfamilypublishing.com or theorangeribbon.org, their sister companies. So one of those websites, if I'm not mistaken, maybe both, have the cards from our Race to Discipline game. Now the Race to Discipline game isn't quite up yet, but I did talk about it in some other videos. We're still working on fine-tuning that for you guys, but the cards are up. And I believe they're only $1 for each download. You can download them straight to your computer. You purchase it, we reply and send you that card so that you can download it immediately. Those will help you so many different ways, trust me, because as a parent sometimes it's hard to come up with consequences, so that really helps out with some positive consequences. Because remember, consequences are good and bad. If you do something good, cause and effect. Do something good, you get something good out of it. Do something negative, you get something negative out of it or bad out of it. So make sure that you remind them of those choices as well. We talked about this tip already. This was really my number 4 tip, but it kind of ended up in number 2 as well. Look for those triggers. Find out what's triggering your child and how you can avoid those early morning power struggles or any time of the day power struggles. When they are having a meltdown, I do want to tell you some of the things that are okay and that are not okay. It's not ever okay for you to grab your child, because that causes aggression and anger. It really does. It makes them defy you even more. So grabbing them to get them to calm down is never okay. If you have to, touch them, try to do it with an open hand. Like you can lead them forward to you, lead them, you can lead them to you, or you can lead them away from you, or guide them. Try to do it with open palms. Don't grab your child, because that really causes more aggression. I'd never suggest whooping your child when they're having a tantrum like this, because it's not really progressive. It's really regressive. And that's all I have for you guys today. Make sure that you check out those other videos that I'm going to link below, and have a great rest of your day. And don't forget, your wellness is important to you and it's important to me. So make sure that you meditate and take time out for you. If you guys have any questions or comments, make sure that you do it below and let me know how these are working for you. Your feedback really helps us. All right, till next time, guys.